Welcome to the Ultimate Dental Podcast, the place where you can learn how to create a dental practice and a business life that you love. Listen in with Dr. David Moffet as he interviews successful entrepreneurs and successful business people and successful dentists as they share their business successes, their stories, and their breakthrough ideas, sharing pearls of wisdom that you can take back to your practice and implement immediately so that you can have that great practice with more patients, higher profits, and less stress. This is the podcast where great dental practices meet with successful business processes. Thanks for tuning in to the Ultimate Dental Podcast, the podcast where thought leaders, industry experts, and thriving practice owners reveal their very best tips, tools, and strategies that will help you grow your dental practice faster. Now, here's your host, Dr. David Moffet.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. David Moffet, and I'm here in New South Wales, Australia. That's it. And it gives me my greatest pleasure to introduce today's guest for the Ultimate Dental Podcast, and that is my good friend, Dr. Robert Pick, Bob Pick, who is in Chicago in America. So it's last night his time, lunchtime my time. But Bob, welcome to the Ultimate Dental Podcast. Taken us a while to get together, but great to have you as a guest on the podcast.
I'm thrilled to be here. Been wanting to do this for a while. One of my friends gave me a hard time earlier on a Zoom call because, as you know, growing like a 6-day beard is in. So I made a bet with a buddy that I would do it. So if I look a little bit unshaven, that's why I want to win the bet. Does he bet I would never do it? I said, so I probably look a little unshaven, but that's why.
Fine. I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known because it's obviously the same color as your hair, which is very transparent on your face.
Good.
And, it reminds me. Many years ago, I used to not shave at Christmas, and I said to my son, I said, "What color's Daddy's beard?" And he said, "White." Well, it was gone the next day because I thought, if it's not this is my natural hair color, and it is also naturally grey over here, but
Not bad.
this is always grey. And so I thought I don't need to advertise grey beards or two-tone beards. So, but I must say, Bob, I did do Movember, which is an annual event down here where you grow a moustache, and I was so glad to get to the end of it because I'm not one for having a strainer on my top lip or a cushion on my top lip when I eat and drink. But anyway, this is great. Now, Bob, you are a periodontist in Chicago, correct?
Yes.
But you also, and you're wearing the shirt, you're the founder of Purple Cow Wow, which is a Facebook group, but it's also your business. So tell us, what is Purple Cow Wow?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's funny, I was doing a Zoom call yesterday with a potential coaching client, Virtual Coffee. I call them Purple Virtual Coffees. And I said to her, when I finished my training, if you ever told me that I would be known as the Purple Cow Wow guy or come up with Purple Cow Wow, I would have said there's something wrong with you. And to give you a quick backstory, most people don't even know this. In 1983, I was about 2 months out of my residency. I was the first person in the world to ever use a laser in the mouth. And co-wrote the first textbook, published a bunch of articles. And I did a podcast recently with someone here, and he goes, you pioneered lasers. It's the greatest thing that came from that anywhere in the world now, somebody does a frenectomy, maxillary midline lingual, no bleeding, no swelling, no scarring, no suturing, blah, blah, blah. I said, no. I said, it's kind of cool, but there was no internet at the time. All of us lectured in the same places. but it put me face to face with the leaders at dentistry at the time who took me under my wing and mentored me under their wing. Mentors are the Pick Group top secret, number one to success. And about 1998, I was lecturing at a meeting, and Roger Levin and Linda Miles, who are pretty well known here, Linda's retired now, said to me, "You're going to end up in management." And I looked at the two of them and I said, "What are you, crazy?" And I said, "What would make you think that?" They said, "Well, the last couple of slides you used were make sure you have a good image, make sure you got the right team. That has nothing to do with lasers." And I looked at him and I said, "You're cuckoo." Long story short, you never know where time takes you. And one of the great books I've read is Purple Cow by Seth Godin. And if you've never read Purple Cow, people, go get it. Go to Amazon. It's a tiny book, but the moral of the story is, if you're here in the States and you're up in the state of Wisconsin, every cow is black and white. They're called Holstein cows. They all look alike, and you just drive. But if all of a sudden there was a real purple cow, there'd be a traffic jam, pictures, video, news helicopters overhead. So I said, "That's interesting." So I was doing an interview with a guy by the name of Nathan Ho in Dental Win-Win. And he said, "What's that purple book?" And I said, "Purple Cow." And I said, "But I think I'm going to add the wow in it." He said, "You're the Purple Cow wow guy." It stuck. So long story short, people, that was a long answer. I started the Facebook group Purple Cow Wow to help others super succeed. And with ethics and excellence always first, you want to separate yourself from the competition. And very quick, when I go online, when I coach, when I go to websites, everybody says the same thing. Somehow everybody went to the most prestigious dental school. Somehow everybody graduated in the top 10% of the class. Everybody does CEREC, Invisalign, this, that, intraoral hemorrhoidectomies. Well, what do you do differently than anybody else? And it's called, in business, people, it's called your brand, or USP, unique selling point. And if you don't know what you do better than anybody else, you're never going to massively succeed to the level that you and your team deserve. So hence, Purple Cow Wow. I also knew, David, that when I started it, I wasn't going to get 60,000 members like our buddy Paul Goodman has, because Dental Nachos is creative. Purple Cow Wow doesn't have the word dentistry in it, which I probably should have added. But it's about doing things right and separating yourself from the competition. That was a long answer.
But you're absolutely right, Bob, and that's, I think, why you and I get on so well, because we both think very much alike, although we're on the opposite sides of the world. I keep saying it. The reason for my success was I looked outside of dentistry, saw what was working in hospitality, saw what was working in travel, saw what was working in food, restaurants, and said, how can I use that? I was very fortunate at a dental mastermind in Chicago, out at Oak Brook, that I used to attend for 3 years, 2008, 9, 10, to meet a customer service agent from outside of dentistry. And I just thought, this guy's got the missing pieces of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do all this stuff, but I have no system. And through him, I then focused on being better for my patients this time than I was for them the time before. And that was always our standard in our practice. When we had our morning huddle and Russell's name came up for his hygiene visit, I'd say, now Russell is typically not our avatar, but he comes and he loves us. So what we've got to do is find out why Russell comes, and whatever the reason Russell tells you, we've got to do that for everybody, because that's it. And so in my practice, in working class Western Sydney, I had a very successful practice where people came because we treated them better than anywhere else they went. Not even any other dentist they went to, but any other business that they went to. And so in the Chamber of Commerce, I was the only dentist in the Chamber of Commerce at the regular monthly meetings, and people would turn up and they say, "All right, I've started my business here. Where should I go to the dentist?" And to a man, everybody in the chamber would say, "You got to go to Active Dental. And it costs you a little bit more, but it's worth it." And I said, "That's what separates you. It's being worth it." And
No question.
I learned. Sorry, I'm taking a podcast. I learned, and you'll agree, 20 to 25% of the population out there, whether we're talking dentistry, whether we're talking lawn mowing, whether we're talking the nail lady, whether we're talking the hairdresser, and it's different for each category. It's not the same 20 to 25% do all four, but in each of those industries, people are so happy with the service they're getting and the product they're getting from those people delivering it that they don't care what the competition charges because they would never change. And I keep reminding my clients that if it worked for me, and it's worked for my clients, then it'll work for my new clients. And you've just got to trust that this is the green line, which is really the yellow brick road,
Yep.
and just stay on it and follow success. But back to you, Bob. This is your podcast interview,
No,
not
good
mine.
question. And when David posts on Purple Cow Wow, when his wife Jane posts, we think so much alike, it is scary. And it's like, yep, 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 yep. And so, by the way, people, if you're not on Purple Cow Wow, get out there. David usually posts a lot on Monday and Thursdays. Read the articles, man. It's unreal.
I love the feedback that you give me, Bob, but what really inspires me is that you use those articles in your practice team building retreats that you have. You have 2 a year. Is it 2 or 3?
We do twice a year.
Twice a year, and you analyze. You pick an article, and you get one of your team members to analyze it and describe how you can use that information as well. And I'm very proud that you do that. But it's great that we are on the same wavelength, and that we can bounce ideas all the time. But you are getting back to Purple Cow Wow. The amount of live work that you do, in terms of interviewing people and of course, the good old Monday morning kick some butt broadcasts, which were Monday evening for me. Always very, very inspirational, Bob. And
Thank you.
and the energy that comes from you and from Purple Cow Wow is palpable even halfway around the world. So thank you for what you do. And at the end of here, I'll put on the how to find you, the Facebook group link as well, so people can go there and just join and be contributors, or they can just be lurkers
Yes.
as well. But if you're on
Yes.
there and reading it, osmosis is a really good way of
Yes.
absorbing information.
Yes. And by the way, what David's talking about is an article that I published in Dentistry Today in October 2018 called Use Retreats to Become a Fortune 500 Dental Business. One, who doesn't want to be a Fortune 500 company? I discovered early on Fortune 500 business do these things. I started doing them after I bought my practice partner out in 99. It ended up, after about 1 year, it became a biannual. All your friends text you when you're doing that. It became a biannual thing, and it's where we go away from the office. We go 3 stoplights away at a golf club, but it's a 2-day event, and we look at everything from, we make sure our mission, our vision, our why, our brand is all correct. We do something called the business SWOT, a business stew. People have to report on articles. They're surprise guest speakers. And by the way, if you and your team have never done a SWOT, you got to do one. And it's not SWAT like a police SWAT. It's called SWOT. And if you've never heard of it, look it up. And it's where, we sit in this table. There's like a big sticky sheet. And I go, then we have an outline. All right, it's SWAT time. And I'll assign somebody to go up and be the writer. and let's say it's Vanessa. She goes up there and writes S for strengths, which is the S part of SWOT. Puts a line under strengths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Strengths usually come from within the practice, and they're awesome. And so we do a round robin to see how many strengths we can list and how we can make those strengths better. W stands for weakness. Next person, somebody else comes up, weaknesses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Weaknesses usually come from within, but aren't good. It may be the answering service isn't picking up on time, or, toilet isn't flushing, who knows what. And then O for SWOT stands for opportunities. So somebody writes opportunities, puts the line underneath, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We go around the room. Opportunities come from within and without. What is something we're not doing that we should be doing? And listen to your team, people. First off, you got to have the right team. But if you got the right team, pay attention to them. They want to help you. They want to grow. And then T of SWOT stands for threats. Somebody goes up and writes threats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Threats can come from inside and outside. The original SWOT article from Harvard simply had threats only from the outside and can come from the inside. A threat can be a bad team member that's causing problems. A threat can be your biggest competition is moving into your building. What are you going to do? And then we take those sticky things off, we stick them around the room, and we always do SWOT on day 1. So usually right after lunch. So for the rest of day 1 and day 2, everybody can see the SWOT. So it sticks in their head. So if you've never done one, look it up. A business SWOT, SWOT. It's awesome.
How long does that take in the initial phase of going through getting those 30 to 40 different headlines, subjects under those 4 categories? How long does that take to come up with that? Would that be a half hour, an hour?
40 minutes.
40 minutes, yeah. And then you come back and revisit, yeah. But threats yes. From internal, some of the ones that I find very difficult, and from our coaching that Jane listens to incoming phone calls. I find it really difficult. I would have no idea what's going on at a practice if I didn't hear the incoming phone calls. And sometimes it's the doctor ringing in to say, I'm running late. Can you bring the patient in out of the waiting room because I've got to come in the front door? Like that's an internal threat straight away. Like, why can't they be on time?
It applies to any business. You got to do it. And when you get really good, you can do a STEW, STEW.
What's that?
And same thing, somebody comes up, writes, the S stands for satisfy the patient. The T stands for team. The E stands for extra mile. And the W in STEW stands for the wow factor in all that you do. So same thing, to satisfy the patient. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Are we satisfying the patient? Is the team cranking it? Are we going the extra mile? Are we doing the wow factor? And huge. So SWOT and STEW, huge.
Now, Bob, I mentioned earlier how you're in the Purple Cow Wow group. You're out there all the time on video. You do a Sunday night interview with people. You do a Thursday night interview with people. You don't call them podcasts, but you're always doing video interviews. There's the cow.
You always got to have the Purple Cow with you. And on Sunday nights at 7 Central Time USA, I go live for about half hour on protocols, tips, tricks that you got to do to make your practice crank. But once I go live, it remains on Facebook. So, depending where you're at, if you miss it, you can always go on Purple Cow Wow and find it. It's huge. And while we're talking about it, what's making me think of this is one of my coaching clients. I made her entire team watch an interview I did in 2022. And I don't know how many of you know a guy by the name of Ed Zuckerberg. I've known Ed for 4,000 years. And Ed has become kind of an authority on the mouth-body connection. And he's spoken to my team. And if you go to Purple Cow Wow, go to the little thing that you can look up, put in mouth-body connection. It'll come up, my interview with him. Every team should watch it. About 16 minutes into the interview, the first 16 minutes, we spent too much time talking about knowing each other forever. But 16 minutes in, he goes, all right, we're going to get it serious now. He's got a picture of a body on an autopsy table. And on the toe identifier, it says, didn't floss. It's funnier than, but it's unbelievable. And when you make patients aware today of the mouth-body connection, they're going to do things that they may have not done. When I lecture, I got a funny picture of a patient. She's waiting for the hygienist, somewhat analytical, but she's standing sort of in to the side of the room where we have a 18 by 12 poster on the mouth-body connection. And she's reading it, but what's funnier than is on the TV is Dr. Phil. I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Phil is. The Dr. Phil show is on, but the mouth-body connection took more importance than Dr. Phil. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get a picture of this because nobody's going to believe it. Funnier than heck. So know your mouth-body connection, people. Look at that interview with my buddy Ed. It allows you and your team and your hygienist to educate patients to a new level. It's huge.
Yeah, I'd had the good fortune of meeting Ed in 2016, and we've maintained a virtual friendship where I can contact him at any time. And he's been down to Australia. I've had dinner with him and Karen. Lovely people, and very knowledgeable in that field for sure. Bob, something that we touched on, these interviews you do, they're video, as is this one as well. Tell us about the power of video. Why is it so good?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's going to be my next article in Dentistry Today. It's working chapter 11 in my upcoming book. But video, people, video schmidio, I want you to pay attention to this. Video engages 1,200 times greater than text. Imagine if you had $1,200 in your pocket and you multiplied it by 1,200. That's $1.4 million. That ain't bad. And so first off, if you're listening to this, don't forget video engages 1,200 times greater than text. Something I came up with a long time ago. It's published in Dental Economics. It's called the triple PVC, Pick Post Procedural Video Check. And what happens is right after we do our morning huddle, and that's a whole other set of events, the second it's done, like an orchestrated event, my assistant Nina grabs phone stabilizer, brings it up to right where I'm standing in the conference room. One of my assistants, Nina, comes right next to me and makes sure I have the sheet that I go home with the night before of every patient and every procedure we've done. We call that patient the night before. Hey, David, it's Dr. Pick. I just want to make sure you're doing okay from, whatever you're doing, the veneer we put in, the crown we put in, the implant we put in. But then here comes the blowaway right after that morning huddle. And by the way, people, when you do what I'm going to talk about, the video should be 60 seconds or less Some carriers, no matter where you're at in the world, don't take video over 60 seconds. So it goes like this. We take phone stabilizer. We put my personal cell phone in, usually sideways. Gosha's off to my right, Nina to my, or Gosha to my right, Nina to my right, Gosha to my left. And it goes like this. Hey, David, it's Bob Pick, and I'm here with part of my surgical assisting team, Gosha. Hi. Nina. Hi. And we call this our post-procedural video check. I just want to make sure you're doing okay from the implant we put in yesterday. Everything went so surgically smooth from my end. A little bit of tenderness for a day is normal. Any problems day or night, 630-898-5575, 24/7. This is my personal cell, 773-230-5211. Please feel free to text back at any time. Let me know you're doing okay. From Nina, bye, see you next week. Gosha, see you next week. Bye, boom. So that probably took 45 seconds. We then, at 11:45 a.m., we then send those videos to those patients to their cell phone that we have. Why do we wait till 11:45? At 11:45, most people are getting it right before lunch, and they're going to show it to everybody they work with. They're blown away. The responses are unbelievable. Oh my God, no doctor has ever followed through like that. Oh my God, you made my day. You'll get video responses back. Dr. Pick, my wife, cannot stop talking about you and your team. And the patient goes, incredible, incredible, incredible. And so look up the article in Dental Economics, Pick post-procedural video check. We got some pictures of what it looks like and stuff. Video, video, video. I guarantee people you will blow the patient away. Blow the patient away. And so video.
So every patient gets their own individual video, Bob.
Yes.
Wow.
Anybody we've done surgery on
Yes.
or procedure on the day before gets it. Now, for specialists out there, which I happen to be, here's another power of video. When you get a referral from a general dentist in that morning huddle, my team leader, Annie, brings in the referral slip from the day before. We take a look at it, and I'll be like, hey, Dr. Smith, you know this face, it's Bob Pick. I just wanted to thank you for referring David Moffet to me. It means a lot to my team and I. And from my team and I, a big thank you. And I'll turn the phone around, and my team will go, thank you. And I'm like, all right, have an awesome day. Bye. And then same thing. We send that at 11:45. It blows people away. It blows people away. Video, 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 video. Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, see, it's funny. I retired from being a dentist before video was so easily accessible on phone. But we used to use the same principle for, what we called a TLC call. No point calling after hours because no point leaving a message. Call them when they're at work because they'll go, you
Yep.
wouldn't believe that was my dentist just calling. That was my dental office just calling to see how I was going.
Yep.
And everybody at work goes, as you said, my dentist never does that. And the other thing that we made sure, because I've had clients do this, they just get any old Joe to in the office to do the thing. Oh, you had this done yesterday. No, it's got to be somebody who was either in the clinical team or the person who handled their checkout, who sat with them and visited with them after the treatment. Somebody who knew exactly. So you couldn't have the person who comes in on the day off. And it had to be done by somebody who was hands-on in that treatment. I stopped doing them myself because I used to get patients say, why are you ringing me? Have you done something wrong? And I thought, oh, well, that's not the message I wanted to send. So and they love the team more. You know how it is in a dental office. you talk to the patient, but you walk out of the room, and the first thing they do is they go, "Do I really need this? Is he telling me the truth?" And they listen to the dental assistant more than to the dentist sometimes. So, just like they listen to the hygienist more than they listen to the dentist sometimes, it's just their means of protection. So, if you can then work with what they believe, you'll get a better result than if you just think, "Well, I'm the almighty doctor,
Yep.
you've got to listen to me." There's a lot of dentists who believe that, sadly, and patients start switching off sometimes because the dentist believes they're so that they must be listened to. But you've got this worked out now, Bob. You asked me to ask you about DISC, which I'm thinking is that you do a lot of profiling of patients and also team members with the DISC category, or are you just talking about those things that you sand down the composite resins with?
Boy, we're going to be here for 10 hours. And um, so you want me to talk about like DISC or how we profile patients?
Yeah, and how you use that. I like there are four different
Yeah.
reasons.
Here's what's important, people.
Yeah,
By the way, when I lecture, the Pick Group top secret number one, mentors. Mentors, 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 mentors. And early on, I had unbelievable mentors, the likes of Pete Dawson, may he rest in peace, Goldstein and Garber, who practiced in Atlanta, Gordon Christensen, Denny Tarnow. They took me under their wing. And one of the things and Pete Dawson, by the way, when you went to his lectures and stuff, he was kind of serious, kind of religious, but oh my God, if he knew you well, every bad word came out of Pete's mouth. Sorry, buddy. And one of the things he taught me very early on, you're going to do something called the preclinical interview. And if you don't do it, I will never help you again. Your buddy Garber does it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what's a preclinical interview? Long story short, he told me, I started doing it. It's possibly one of the biggest keys to 100% case acceptance, people. 100%. Everybody meets new patients in a dental chair, or they have a hygienist do a cleaning first. To me, I think that's cuckoo. All of my new patients are met in a room away from a dental chair. The room is about half the size of an operatory. We call it our preclinical interview educational conference room. It's got like a table, chair on each side where the patient sits. I sit. One of my assistants brings the patient in, have a seat. Dr. Pick will be right in. Patient stays in the room, so I don't have to take notes. There's awards on the wall. There's a picture of David Moffet and Jane Bandy. No, but anyhow, so when the patient, and I'm going to come to two different things. When the patient first calls, every one of my team members knows something called DISC, which I'll come back to in a second. And let's say Annie, who takes the phone call, discovers this guy's a analytical, which is C. And so when the patient comes in, it's reconfirmed. The assistant that grabs the patient from the waiting room to the preclinical room triple confirms what's called the DISC personality profile. So let's say Sonia's got the patient seated. Sonia was with me for 35 years, and she never saw a psychiatrist. And but DISC helped the two of us get along. Long story short, she goes, "Oh my God, hurry up and get in there. Patient's analytical. He's already looking at his watch, blah, blah, blah." So analytical people are very serious. So first thing I do, let's say I know the guy needs veneers. I'm not a general dentist, but let's say veneers from 6 to 11. So I'm going to grab some articles on veneers. I'm going to walk in the room. And when I walk in that room, I'm going to make sure my reading glasses are on, because most analyticals wear glasses, they're very serious. So I'll walk in the room with a serious voice. Hey, David, Bob Pick, nice to meet you. Welcome to the practice. And so we start going over stuff. And let's say, he needs an implant at site 30. First off, I want you to know whenever I do an implant, every I, every T has to be crossed. I have lots of articles I can give you. So important that everything is done correctly, and so important. And before we bring you to a room, and I'll sit down and show them pictures of implants and slides. Any questions for me about my training, my team, or anything we're going to do today? No, nobody's ever taken the time to meet me in a room like this. I definitely want one of those articles. Thank you. And so you blow the patient away. I hope you all have a good sense of humor. If I had Donald Trump in the chair, and Donald Trump's Donald Trump, my way or the highway. President Trump, Bob Pick, nice to meet you. It's already 7:02. Let's get down to business. Let's get stuff done right away, and let's get you to a room. Okay, let's go. So here's what DISC is. And by the way, when you meet somebody in a preclinical interview room, away from a dental chair, you blow that patient away. And I can't tell you how many times a patient goes, well, when can we get started? Well, I got to do the exam first. We need to take some x-rays on you. And as a lot of you know, from a long-term side effect of some experimental chemo and stuff I was on, I got a cochlear implant. So my buddy Nathan Ho calls it my hearing aid the size of West Texas. But about 4 years ago, I spoke at Super Dentist Boost for Paul Goodman. And I sometimes bring a team member with me in case I miss something. And I'm like, so I said, 100% case acceptance. And someone in the audience said, are you joking? Thank God my office manager, Diana, was with me. And I said, Diana, am I joking? She goes, nope. Our case acceptance is off the charts. Here's what DISC is. Goldstein, Garber, and Dawson taught me DISC. And again, Dawson, if you don't know DISC, and if you don't put that patient in a preclinical interview room, you're out the door. So here's what DISC is. Look it up, but D stands for driver personality. My way or the highway. Bottom line, be on time. And when I lecture, and I told people I'm not going to talk politics, but I use Donald Trump as the number one example because everybody knows him. It's huge. You got to do it. So important. And now you got the Donald Trump dance. Second person I put up is Simon Cowell from America and Britain's Got Talent. Stop. Off the stage. No good. Goodbye. My way or the highway. I stands for interactive or expressive. And examples I use are Dolly Parton. Oh my God, I just went brain dead. I'll come up with them in a second. But somebody that's expressive, they're talking like this. Oh my God, show me some more pictures. This is great. And when you got an eye in the chair, God, I want you to know when those veneers get done, your smile will be the most unbelievable, awesome smile ever. You're talking their language and imitate them. You may not be an expressive or an I, but Jim Carrey is who I was thinking of. I'll never forget seeing him. If you don't know who Jim Carrey is, people look him up. I'll never forget seeing him the first time on a show we had here in America called The Johnny Carson Show. I came on. I couldn't stop laughing. Expressive. Now, when you have an S stands for steady relator. And if you've noticed, my voice calmed down. I'm somewhat not very expressive. I'm a little bit quiet. And, that's a tough decision to do that implant. And I want you to know if you need a little more time, It's okay. And the example I use is an S. I don't care what religion you are. The Pope, I think he's one of the nicest, sweetest, gentlest people. I'm not Catholic, but I love the guy on planet Earth. So S personalities are a little bit quiet. God, I may want to think about that. But if you do that preclinical interview and do stuff, it's a decision they're probably going to make. And then, as I mentioned, C stands for calculating or analytical. Make sure your reading glasses are on. And you will blow the person, you'll blow them away. And you can't be everybody, but you can imitate them slightly. And your team members need to know DISC ice cold, especially those that answer the phone, your assistants, team members. You got to know it. And when you know DISC, everybody has a primary and a secondary. And there are certain personalities that don't go together. You'll never see what's called an IC. You'll never see a primary expressive that's also an analytical. And I've taken the DISC test 4,000 times. I come up high D, high I, almost tied. No C, no S. And by the way, people, some of these DISC tests online will rip you off. Tony Robbins, I think, has the best free DISC tests you can get. And it's worth it. It takes 5 minutes. See what you are. So hope I didn't bore you, but DISC and the preclinical interview is huge.
Hey, Bob, you probably worked this out, but I'm also high D, high I as well, which is weird because I often say I'm very introverted, but when I have to be public, you've got to be on stage, as you and I know. It's showtime when you're at work, and you've got to be everything to everybody. End of the day, I often used to say this to Jane. I'd say, come home and she's been with children all day, and I say, I've been best friending 16 people all day. I'm best friended out. I just need a little break. but you got to do what you got to do. You can't. I was talking to a chap earlier today. You can't be an introvert if you're working on a front office in a dental practice. You've got to be able to adapt to everybody who comes in, because they're not coming in to buy something. They're coming in there because they've got a problem. It's not like I've got money to spend. I'll go and see what I can buy at the dentist. Dentistry is about solving problems. So you've got to help them get over their anxieties. And, that's why I brought Jane to come and work for me. When the children were old enough to find their own way home from school, I said, you need to come and be a concierge. I just need your schmoozing ability in my lounge to help people from falling down that chasm of loneliness, being left on their own. We need that in there. And that was a big change in my practice, that people would say, I've never been to a business like this, let alone a dentist like this, where people are just so attentive. So really, really important to know those profiles. Thanks for telling me about the preclinical interview, because I had heard about that and I was going to ask about that. So again, really, really important in explaining it, because I've also heard it explained incorrectly. And when it's done badly, it can bore the pants off both the dentist and the person. But the fact that you know the outcome that you need to get, and that's point of difference, as opposed to an information gathering session, you've got to create the point of difference. And everything in any business is about creating a point of difference.
Yes.
Anybody come back if there's no point of difference? Because if there's no point of difference, they only have price to judge you on.
And, when Pete Dawson said to me, I think we were lecturing in, I think it was Tokyo. I was talking on lasers. He was talking on occlusion. We were at dinner. And he said, you got to do this preclinical interview. And I looked at him like he was cuckoo. And I said, what are you, nuts? You want me to take one of my operatories, make it half the size, put people in there first? He's like, yes. And I'm like, okie dokie. Almost didn't do it. And most unbelievable thing I've ever done, period. And by the way, for those of you watching this, I'll put a post on Purple Cow Wow of what a preclinical interview room looks like. And it's working chapter 6 in my upcoming book, The Power of the Preclinical Interview and Preclinical Interview Educational Conference Room. You got to do it.
Bob, when you've mentioned the book a couple of times, when do you think it's going to be available for people to buy? When will you be finished it?
You mean with practice?
Yeah, the book that you're writing. Yeah.
Oh, the book should it should have been done 2 years ago, but not enough time. I now have all the chapters done. I've picked up decided on the right cover, back. So I'm hoping within about 8 weeks it's completely done. The chapters are out at the editor right now. And I had some fun about a month ago. I used a company called 99 Designs. And, also keep in mind, people at any stage of the game have a coach. Here in Chicago, even unbelievable Michael Jordan always had a coach. I have a coach that coaches me in what I do today. And so the book is out. The editor, he turned me on to 99 Designs. And I pay for the high end, and you have people that give you book cover ideas. And some of the book covers were cuckoo. And I also did a thing where one designer can't see what the other designer designed. And but I came up with one that I thought was the classiest one. Some of them were like unbelievably ridiculous. There was one that had a purple cow in the middle with braces on. And I'm like, well, that'd be great if you're an orthodontist. And just cuckoo. Crazy. But I can't wait till the book is done.
I used 99 Designs for the cover of my book as well. My copywriter, who helped me with the title, he said, well, I used 99 Designs for his book, and so I did it. And I knew that I wanted a yellow cover to my book because it stands out on a bookshelf sideways. It stands out on a bookshelf face up, and so I got 8 designs, and then put that to my circle to choose. There was 5 yellows, 2 blacks, and a blue. And in the voting,
Great minds think alike, people.
in the voting, I wanted a yellow, and the yellows were leading, but the blue was coming up close. I was going, no, get down, blue, get down. I don't want blue, I want yellow. But funnily enough, interesting, there was competition between the ones in the poll. People like the designers were saying, they copied my design. They copied my design. It was kind of like this kind of like the Three Stooges in the background going on. But anyway,
Funny.
the one that worked. And so my book became known as the Big Yellow Book. Even Howard Ferran said, how'd you get the name Big Yellow Book? I said, Jane said, I'm sick of this Big Yellow Book. It's everywhere. So it just became its name. It has its own Facebook page, as the Purple Cow Wow does. Bob, I know that we're getting towards the end of time, and I know that you've got dinner coming on your table. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was trying to get her to pop in. Carmen walked in, but she's making dinner, but she's like, take your time.
Oh, did she? Oh, that's good. I wasn't sure whether she was bringing dinner to you. And the last thing I want is dinner going cold or dinner going hard, which happens when it gets cold. Sorry.
Before we end it, I want to cover one more thing that I think would be huge for people to know and to do. In people, it's called a group team text. And although I retired now, I still have my group team text, all my team members. And what we have rules. On the weekends, you try to keep group text to a minimum. You try not to text after 8 p.m., whatever time you're in. But I would do something fun like, oh my God, I'm going to see all you guys in about 40 minutes. I love you all. I have the best team in the world. I can't wait to see everybody. And it blows them away. Nobody does that. And so group team text. And it's a mind blow. It's a purple cow wow. Yeah, they're not expecting it. You blow them away. Or how about this for a group team text? By the way, I know today is Monday, so I'll give you at least 3 days to prepare. On Wednesday, I'm buying lunch for everybody because I love my team. And when you do stuff like that, you blow them away.
Oh, how good is that? How good is that? Where do you buy lunch? Where you get it delivered in, or
Oh, well, see, we do everybody has like a favorite place. So depending what we're going to do, I'll sometimes leave it up to one of the team members, order from where you want to. Like my team leader, Andy, also has a office credit card. And then being in Chicago area, we all love a place called Portillo's. And a great hot dogs, French fries, onion rings, burgers. It's great. And one of these days, I've known Dick for a long time. Every once in a while on Thursday night, people, I do my Thursday night live with industry leaders and experts. This Thursday night, I'm interviewing Alan Stern on Alanisms. But I'm eventually going to get, because the schedule's a Dick to be interviewed, because I don't care what business you're in, certain principles apply. And it's 10 years ago, 10 years ago now, he sold Portillo's to Warren Buffett for $1.2 billion. That's a lot of cash after taxes. And he also got very smart after he opened. And again, one of my quotes, people, imitate those that are successful. And if you can put your own spin on it, crank it. An early attorney said, McDonald's owns the land that every McDonald's is on. So if you buy a McDonald's franchise, you pay them the rent. After store number 3, he bought the land that the next 61 stores are on. And when he sold Portillo's, the land was not part of the deal. And every month he gets rent on 61 properties, close to $1 million every month. Insane. Insane. But great ethics, took care of his team. High school education, was in the Marines for 3 years after high school, didn't know what he wanted to do, but he always had it in his brain. I was going to do it better than anybody else. Huge.
yeah, always important to try to do your best. That's for sure, and also to think outside the box. And that's the purple cow theory, isn't it? For sure, it's the answers are out there, but sometimes they're just not in the box. And when you find them outside the box and you apply them to what you're doing, that's where you become, the superstar in your area, the superstar in your field, the
Yes.
superstar in your location, the whole thing. And so that's how you get known. Bob, we could talk for hours, and we will talk again for sure. It's been great to connect to you, and thank you very much. As I was saying before we started, I did want you to be my first guest, but because of circumstances, that didn't happen. But it's great now to have you as being a guest on the Ultimate Dental Podcast, which I've been pushed to do. Again, one of those things that was on the back burner for ages, but I'm really enjoying doing it as a formal event, and I've got a good team helping me with that as well. Appreciate your time, appreciate your wisdom as always, appreciate your support. I'm so glad that we have become virtual friends, because we're still yet to meet face to face. But I look forward to that day, and hopefully it won't be too far into the future. But it has, because of COVID being a restrictor. I haven't been in
Oh,
the US for 5 years, since 2019, so it's been a long time. But we're only a Zoom call away anyway. and that's the important thing. So, Bob Pick, thank you so much for being a guest on the Ultimate Dental Podcast.
You're welcome. My pleasure to be here. Carry on.
Yes, and for everybody who wants to be in touch with Bob, the details of how to connect with him, Purple Cow Wow, as well as other mediums will be following the end of this broadcast. So, Bob, thanks so much.
Thank you for tuning in to another inspiring episode of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of our dental community and joining us each week on this incredible journey. If you found value in today's episode and you don't want to miss out on future episodes packed with expert insights and actionable strategies, here's how you can stay connected with us. Firstly, hit that subscribe button. Whether you're listening on your favorite podcast platform or watching on our website, subscribing ensures you'll never miss an episode. Secondly, share the love. If you know a fellow dentist or colleague who could benefit from the wisdom and knowledge that we share here, please share our podcast with them. Also, please share the podcast on your socials by simply clicking on the social icons wherever you view or listen to this podcast. Together, we can all do our bit to elevate the dental profession. And finally, stay engaged with us. We love hearing from you. Your questions, comments, and feedback fuel our mission to provide the best content for your professional growth, your personal growth, and for your practice growth. Remember, your journey to creating a dental practice and a business life that you love is our mission, and we're excited to be your trusted guide along the way. Thank you for being a part of the Ultimate Dental Podcast. Until next time, keep smiling, keep striving, and keep on tuning in to the Ultimate Dental Podcast.